The soil on Verdana 7 was dark, soft, and strangely warm, almost like it remembered every life that had touched it. Elias Ward pressed his shovel into the earth and counted his breaths the way a recovering soldier counts the distance between explosions. Measured, calm, controlled. The same hands that once ended 32 lives were now being used to coax vegetables out of the ground. The universe truly had a twisted sense of irony. 3 suns climbed lazily over the horizon, spreading currents of peach and amethyst across the sky. The locals called the land Evergreen Plain, though the grass stood higher than Elias's waist and shimmered silver at night. It was the kind of planet where people came to disappear. Elias had disappeared extremely well. His cottage, carved into a hill, resembled something out of a forgotten fairy tale. Round door, circular windows. To his right, his only neighbors, a pair of unimpressed goats. To his left, nothing but grass, wind, and enough silence to drown an entire lifetime. Elias paused mid-dig as movement caught his eye. A girl, small, thin, blue-skinned, walked steadily down the dirt path toward the village. Her silver hair glowed under the early sunlight, swinging behind her like a comet tail. 11 years old, maybe younger. Zarian. Elias's jaw tightened. She walked with a straight spine and an expression that dared the world to challenge her. The world accepted the dare. 3 boys loitering near the bakery saw her. First came the whispers, thin, sharp, and ugly. Blue blood. Alien stray. Then came a handful of dust hurled in her direction. The girl dodged the first one without flinching. The next struck her shoulder. She brushed it off and kept walking, chin still raised, pace steady. Not my problem, Elias told himself. I came here to fade out, not to rescue children. But his grip tightened around the shovel until his knuckles whitened. The girl rounded a corner and vanished from sight. The boys laughed, satisfied with their cruelty. Elias stared at the freshly turned soil as if accusing it of witnessing something shameful. 15 years earlier, humans and Zarians had almost annihilated each other. Treaties ended the war, but hatred survived, quiet, stubborn, and passed down like family recipes. Any Zarians living in human territory walked with a target on their back. Soldier or civilian, adult or child, it didn't matter. The girl had a name, Leora. He'd learned it accidentally through the whispers of villagers who gossiped more than they breathed. And now she was walking straight toward a fate the village pretended not to see. Elias shoved the shovel into the dirt, leaving it upright like a gravestone. Tomorrow, an inspector would arrive, and Leora's time was running out, whether Elias wanted to care or not. What happens when the inspector arrives, and what will Elias choose, silence or involvement? Leora sat on a wooden stool outside the village clinic, scrubbing dried mud from her blue forearms beneath the old water pump. The water ran in thin streams, carrying dust into the grass like faint trails of rust. She didn't complain. She didn't sigh. She simply washed, steady and unbothered. "Rough morning?" Dr. Mira Solon asked from the doorway. "Nothing unusual," Leora replied, as if talking about weather instead of harassment. "The Bren kids got better at throwing today. Should I congratulate them later?" Mira's jaw tightened. Her reddish-brown skin seemed to darken when she was angry, and right now she resembled a storm cloud trying not to burst. "I'm sorry, little star." "Don't be," Leora said, shaking off the last of the water. "Dirt is temporary." "People shouldn't treat you like they're scared," Leora interrupted gently. "Fear makes people loud and stupid." Barely blinked. "Where did you hear that?" Leora lifted the battered adventure novel poking from her pocket. "Captain Arlo says it in Chapter 4, right before he blows up the pirate ship." Despite herself, Mira smiled. The girl had that effect on her. Leora was fragile, yes, but also sharp enough to slice through any lie. Found 5 years earlier in a half-crashed escape pod, she was the sole survivor of a refugee group that never reached safety. Authorities wanted her sent to a federal holding colony, nice words for an overcrowded camp, but Mira had fought paperwork, policy, and 3 officials to keep the child here. Her clinic, another round-doored hillside home, smelled of lavender and antiseptic. Some equipment was modern, some looked older than the planet. Leora hopped onto the examination cot as Mira retrieved a handheld scanner. "Deep breath," the doctor said. Leora inhaled. The scanner hummed softly, then chirped with a tone Mira dreaded, a tone she'd hoped wouldn't return so soon. Leora watched her, golden eyes unblinking. "Tell me." Mira swallowed. "Your cells, they're losing regeneration faster. The star wither is progressing." There, the truth, heavy and impossible. Leora nodded like she was being told her shoes were untied. "So a year, maybe 2 if we get lucky?" "Leora, I can read numbers on the scanner," she said softly. "Pretty sure I understood before you did." Mira's throat tightened. "The only treatment is on the Zarian homeworld, and you know the borders are closed." "Yeah." She fiddled with a loose thread on her sleeve. "Well, at least your cooking makes the waiting nicer." Mira pulled her into a fierce hug. Leora returned it, thin arms surprisingly strong. "Don't cry," the girl murmured. "You get all blotchy." That night, Elias watched from his dimly lit porch as villagers crept to the clinic one by one, leaving pies, repairing Leora's bike, slipping books under the door. Quiet compassion from people who spoke cruelty by day, but kindness in secret. The inspector would arrive at noon tomorrow, and Elias could feel something shifting, danger stirring like a wind before a storm. When the inspector arrives, one decision will decide whether the girl stays or disappears forever. The inspector arrived exactly at noon, as if he wanted the triple suns to spotlight him. His transport, sleek, black, sharp-angled, looked painfully out of place among the rounded cottages and grazing goats. Elias watched from the garden, hands muddy, expression unreadable. Inspector Varon Hale stepped out with the kind of smile that never touched his eyes. His suit was crisp, his boots polished, and his ambition practically radiated off him. He walked straight toward the clinic, ignoring the curious villagers who parted for him like water around a stone. Elias didn't need to strain to hear the conversation. Quiet Hollow had paper-thin walls and even thinner privacy. "I'm here for the child," Inspector Hale announced smoothly. "Unregistered alien minors must be transferred to a regulated facility, Federation protocol." "She's not a criminal," Mira snapped. "Never said she was," Hale replied, voice dripping with false sympathy. "But rules exist to keep everyone safe." Safe, Elias had heard that word justify a lot of terrible things. "You have 48 hours," Hale continued, "to provide a legal guardian with the authority and capability to protect her. If not, she comes with me." Mira's voice cracked. "Those centers, we both know children don't come out the same." Hale didn't blink. "My job isn't to interpret outcomes, it's to enforce regulations." He walked out moments later, brushing past Elias without a glance. The inspector's boots left perfect imprints in the dirt, like marks left by something predatory. That evening, Mira arrived at Elias's cottage in the rain. Her hair clung to her face, her green dress soaked and wrinkled, but she didn't seem to notice. She stood on his doorstep, breathing hard, as if every step had been a battle. "I need your help," she said. Elias had expected it, dreaded it. "With the girl." "With keeping her out of a cage," Mira corrected. "There's a loophole, emergency guardianship, but the guardian must be able to defend her, physically, legally, everything." "And you think I qualify?" Elias asked quietly. "I think you're not what you pretend to be." Her gaze didn't waver. "You move like someone who spent his life watching shadows. You react faster than any farmer I've ever met, and you hide things very deep." He didn't answer, just opened the door and let her inside. They sat at his small table, steam rising from 2 untouched cups of tea. "I need someone dangerous," Mira whispered. "Someone the inspector can't bully, someone who won't run if trouble comes." Elias leaned back, eyes shadowed. "And you came to me? Tell me who you really are." Silence, long, heavy. When Elias finally spoke, his voice was low, stripped of every lie.
I was what the Federation called a line tracker. If someone vanished, I found them. If someone needed to disappear, I handled it. Mira didn't flinch, not once. She simply listened, fingers curled around her cup, shoulders tight but steady. "How many?" she finally asked. 32, Elias replied. "Some deserved worse than what they got. Some, he exhaled slowly, were just in the wrong place. "And you walked away?" Mira said softly, reading him like Leoa often did, like she saw the pages behind his eyes. "I walked away when they ordered me to silence a Zarian general. A war criminal, yes, but he had 2 children hiding behind him. They were terrified." He tapped the wooden grain of the table. "I lowered the rifle. That was the last time I followed anyone's orders."
Mira's voice broke. "Leora's siblings. She reminds me of them," Elias admitted. "Too much." Before Mira could respond, the clinic door slammed. Leora stood there, arms crossed, golden eyes gleaming with far too much awareness for someone her age. "I heard everything," she announced. "Walls here are basically made of wet paper." Mira groaned. "Leora." "Also," the girl continued, "I know who you were, Elias. I looked up tracker case studies months ago. All your habits match. The way you stand, how you map exits, how you listen without moving your head." She shrugged. "Classic covert training." "You shouldn't be reading classified archives," Elias said. "Too late," Leora chimed, hopping onto the cot. "Anyway, what's the plan? The inspector's coming back tomorrow. We need a guardian who looks like they can punch a disaster in the face." Mira rubbed her temples. "Leora, this is serious." "So am I," the girl replied. "And if Elias says yes, we get time. If he says no," her voice wavered, just slightly, "then they take me." Elias glanced between the two of them, the fierce doctor and the dying child who refused to act like one. It should have been an easy choice. Walk away, stay invisible, let the universe handle its own cruelty. But then Leora yawned and tried and failed to disguise it. The disease was eating her strength faster now. "I'll sign the papers," Elias said quietly. Mira closed her eyes in relief. Leora grinned, smug and bright. "I knew you would." "But listen," Elias said, voice suddenly hard. "If I step into this, my past steps with me. If I'm found, if someone recognizes me, your life becomes bait." The room stilled. Mira reached out, placing her hand over his scarred knuckles. "Then we just don't let anyone find you." Elias wished it were that simple. Because somewhere far above Verdana 7, Inspector Hale was already digging into records that should never have resurfaced. Hale has discovered the truth, and he's bringing more than paperwork when he returns. Inspector Hale returned the next day with 6 armed officers, double the number before. His transport hissed as it settled in the village square, scattering dust and fear in equal measure. Villagers peeked from doorways, murmuring, unsure whether to run or watch. Elias walked into the square beside Mira and Leora, his expression calm, almost unnervingly so. He wasn't a farmer today, not anymore. Something sharper lived behind his eyes. Hale greeted him with a thin smile. "Mr. Ward, or should I call you by your actual designation? Line Tracker, Shadow Asset 12. The square went silent. Even the wind held its breath. "So it's true," Hale continued. "The ghost hunter himself, hiding between goats and turnips. How poetic." Elias didn't respond. Leora stood slightly behind him, clutching Mira's hand, but her chin was raised, always raised. "I'm taking the girl," Hale announced. "Your application for guardianship is void. You lied about who you are." "No," Mira snapped. "He didn't lie. You just didn't know how to read the truth." Hale ignored her. He lifted a small device, one Elias recognized instantly. A marker. A single tap would flag Leora in the black registries, the underground networks where hunters roamed. If marked, the girl would be hunted across star systems by people far worse than Hale. "She'll be tagged as bait," Hale said casually, "unless you come with me quietly." Leora grabbed Elias's sleeve. "Don't," she whispered. "Please don't leave." Hale pressed his thumb over the activation pad. Then something happened that Hale did not expect. Old Petra, the baker who once shouted slurs at Leora, stepped forward. "You mark her, and you mark us all," she said, voice trembling. Then Tim, the boy who'd once thrown dirt at Leora, joined her. "She's my friend," he said loudly, surprising himself. One by one, more villagers stepped between Hale and the trio, forming a jagged, imperfect shield of bodies. Farmers, elders, shopkeepers, people who had done cruel things by day but kind things in secret. "You won't touch her. Not now, not ever." Hale's confidence cracked. "You'll all be charged with obstruction." "No," another voice cut in. Mira stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "You tag a dying child with a bounty, and I broadcast it to every journalist in the sector. Your career ends in flames." Hale hesitated. That's when Elias moved closer to him and whispered, "I know about your side deals, about the Zarian kids sent off-world. Walk away now, or I send every name I have to the tribunal." Hale's hand trembled. He lowered the marker. "This isn't over," he whispered, voice shaking. "Yes," Elias said, "it is." Hale turned sharply, signaled his troops, and the transport lifted into the sky, leaving Quiet Hollow behind. The village breathed again. Later that night, Elias sat on the hill overlooking the lights below. Mira joined him, slipping her arm through his. Leora lay in the grass beside them, folding a crooked paper bird. "You saved me today," she said. "No," Elias replied softly. "You saved all of us." Leora leaned against him. "Do you think monsters can choose to be something else?" He looked at the stars.